Okay, good morning students and welcome back to the class 9 gravitation chapter. Today we have the last few examples and we'll be talking about a few topics of the deleted portion, that is the second part of the chapter. Because it is important, I will be teaching it and just revising it for you, the basic points of what the portion is about. Even though it is deleted, but we will see a few points that are really important. Okay? So, but first let us finish the exercise, and the question today is, a ball is thrown vertically upwards, returns after 6 seconds. So, a ball is thrown upwards, okay, like this, and then it is returning back after 6 seconds. Okay, so find the velocity with which it was thrown. The velocity with which it was thrown. The second is maximum height it will achieve, and the third one is what is its position after 4 seconds. So first of all, it is taking 3 seconds to go up and 3 seconds to come down. We know that. Okay? And the first thing is find the velocity with which it was thrown. So we have the formula that is V is equal to U plus GT. We have the time, we have the final velocity. Okay? We have to find the initial velocity. What is the final velocity? That after 3 seconds its final velocity will become 0. So you need to find the initial velocity. And what is acceleration? Because it is thrown upwards, we will take g as minus 9.8. I hope it is clear to students. We take the g as minus 9.8. Simply substitute the values. V is 0, u you need to find, g is minus 9.8 and time is 3 seconds for going upwards. Okay, that is why we have only used 3 seconds and not 6 seconds. So first of all you have to understand the question and use the values according to it. If the question is given 6 seconds, why you cannot directly use 6 seconds over here? Because 3 seconds is for going up and 3 seconds for coming down. It is clearly stated in the question. Ball thrown vertically upwards returns back after 6 seconds. Okay, remember that. Now, because this is negative over here, we will have 0 equals u minus 3 8 24, 3 8 27, 28 29. So it becomes 29 and 1 decimal point, so it becomes minus 29.4. This minus 29.4 goes on the other side, becomes plus 29.4, so it becomes 0 plus 29.4 equals u. And 0 plus any number is the number itself, therefore your answer is 29.4 equals u, or I can write u equals 29.4 meters per second. This is your initial velocity. This is your initial velocity. So you have your initial velocity over here, u equals 29.4. Next question. What is its maximum height? What is the maximum height it will achieve? Once again, for this we will use the third equation, v square minus u square equals 2gh. We'll use this value. Okay? V is 0. Okay? 0 minus u square is 29.4. 29.4 whole square. Okay? And equals 2 into minus 9.8, and height, we need to find the height, that is 1. Okay students? Simply 0 minus any number is number itself, so I have minus 29.4 whole square upon 2 into minus 9.8. Okay? This minus sign will remain as it is. Why? Because I have to square this number and then I have to subtract it by 0. Okay? If I use the minus sign with 29.4 and when I do the square it becomes plus. So it becomes strong. So first I have to square this and then I have to subtract this 29.4 from 0. But ultimately after squaring this I will get the answer in negative sign because I am subtracting this number from this after squaring this. And because there is a negative sign over here as well, I cut both the negative sign. So the final answer is in positive because our height cannot be negative. Okay, height can always be positive. So 29.4 into 29.4 upon 2 into 9.8. When you solve this, students, you will get the answer as 44.1 meters. So this is the height that the ball will achieve. So the final answer is h is equal to 44.1 meters. So up till now it was quite simple. You can do the mathematical work yourself. But now comes the complicated part. Okay, the complicated part over here is that find its position after 4 seconds. So over here it is taking 3 seconds, and at the 4th second it is coming down. So it will be somewhere over here. If you check the path, let's say it is going up and it is coming down. So it takes 3 seconds to go up, and then in the 4th second it is coming down. So we will check from at this point. Now its initial velocity is 0. And the acceleration acting on it is 9.8, that is positive 9.8, because now it is coming downwards. And the time is 1 second. Why? Because 3 seconds was for going up. At the 4th second it is coming down. So we will take the time as 1 second. Okay. Now simply apply the formula, that is S is equal to UP plus half GE square. When you apply this formula, just substitute the values. That is, initial velocity is 0, okay, time is 1 second, so multiplied by 1, plus half, g is 9.8, and time is 1 square. So 0 into 1 is 0, plus half into 9.8, and 1 square is 1, and 1 multiplied by any number is number itself. So all you need to do is just cut this, and when you solve this you will get 4.9. So the final thing remaining is 0 plus 4.9. So the answer is 4.9 meters. So S is equal to 4.9 meters. That means after 1 second it will travel how much? 4.9 meters. Now remember, students, this is not our question. The question is what will be its position after 4 seconds. So the maximum height that it achieved was 44.1 meters. So from the ground, what will be its height? At what position? So the total height is 44.1. You will reduce 4.9 from that, and the remaining height you need to find. So this is what we need to do. So position of the ball is maximum height minus the height that we find, that is 4.9 meters. So the maximum height is 44.1. So 44.1 minus 4.9. When you subtract this, you will get the answer over here 3 and 11. 11 minus 9 is 2 decimal point. 43 minus 4 is 39. So the maximum height that it will have at after 4 seconds is 39.2 meters. I hope it is clear to you, students. Okay? Let's move on to the next question. Okay, students, so we finished the exercise of the chapter, and the few questions that are remaining, that are from the portion which is deleted. So instead of wasting the time on that, I thought we'll revise the chapters which are deleted from the syllabus for this year only. Okay? Because of the situation, some of the portions CBSE has deleted, and will focus on that for today. Because even though this portion is deleted, it is very basic and it should be understood by each and every one. Now, even though if the students are not going to take the science, those students which are going to take the science, same things will be repeated in the 11th standards, and therefore this is really important because these are the basics. If you understand this, then you will be able to understand the syllabus of the 11th standard. But even those students which are not going to take science, it is important for them to understand this, because this is basic scientific knowledge. The first thing is thrust and pressure. So I think we studied this 8th standard. The very first chapter of the physics was force and pressure. So same thing is over here, thrust. What is thrust? So suppose this is the surface, and a force which is acting perpendicular to this surface. The force which is acting 90 degree to the surface, okay? This thrust. The force acting perpendicular to the surface is called thrust. Suppose if this is our surface and the force is acting this way, and this way it is acting at 90 degree, and therefore it is thrust. So what is thrust? Thrust is nothing but a force which is acting perpendicular to the surface. Okay? The second one is pressure. Pressure is something that we studied once again in the 8th standard. What is pressure? Pressure is the force applied on a unit area. Force applied on a unit area. Pressure is force applied on a unit area, which means that how much force is being applied on a particular area, and that is given by pressure P is equal to force upon area. Okay? So when the area is smaller, the pressure is more, and when the area is larger, then the pressure is less. If the force is kept constant, okay, that is why we studied in the 8th standard that when the area is smaller, like the needles of the injection, okay, they need to apply less pressure to increase the pressure on one particular area. That is why the point of the needle is very sharp. Similarly, when we are using nails and hammer, okay, if you want to use nails on the wall, the point of the nail is very sharp. If it is blunt, the nail bends, but it does not go inside the wall. So we require the point to be very small area. So the pressure on the wall is more. So if the area of contact is less, for example, this is our nail, okay, and we are hammering it, and that is why the area of contact for the nail on the wall is very less. And when we are applying the force, the pressure on the wall is much more, and that is why the nail goes inside the wall. Okay, so increasing and decreasing the area increases or decreases the pressure. The unit of pressure is Pascal. Okay, unit of pressure is Pascal. Moving on, fluids. We also studied in the 8th standard what are fluids. The liquids and gases in general are called fluids, and they also apply the pressure. Like in a balloon, the air is applying pressure everywhere. Similarly, liquids also apply the pressure on the walls of the container and the bottom of the container in which they are kept. So we know about the basics. This is what the fluids also show that they are applying pressure. Moving on, the next point is buoyancy. What is buoyancy? Buoyancy is a type of force. Buoyancy or buoyant force. Just like gravitational force we are calling gravity, in the same way buoyant force is called buoyancy. Okay? You might have experienced that in a bucket of water, some things float and some things do not float. You might have also seen that if there is a heavy object, when you place it in the bucket of water or when you place it in water, it feels lighter. Okay, it feels lighter. That is, some of the weight has been reduced. You feel that way. I think everyone might have experienced this, that whenever a heavier object is placed in water, it becomes lighter. Why? So suppose we have a container over here like this, okay, and it is filled with water. And we have an object. We have an object in our hand, and we are placing it in the water, and therefore it falls to the bottom of the container. And when we try to lift it, it is very light. Okay, we are trying to move it upwards. It feels very light. And when we move it out of the water, once again it becomes quite heavy. Why is that? Because inside any fluid there is a force acting in the upward direction. Okay, this force is called buoyant force. So there is always a force which is acting in the upward direction in fluids. This force is called buoyant force. Buoyant force. Now, the gravitational force is acting everywhere. Okay, so this object over here is also experiencing gravitational force in the downward direction. We know that gravitational force is everywhere. So suppose we have a 10 kg object. We have a 10 kg object. And because of the gravitational acceleration, we are multiplying it by 10 and it becomes 100 newtons. So what is the weight of the object? It is 100 newtons. We know what is weight. Weight is equal to m into g, that is mass into acceleration. 10 meters per second square. Instead of 9.8, for simplicity purpose, I am taking 100. So 10. So the answer is 100. So the weight of the object is 100 newtons. Let's say that this particular object is having 100 newtons of weight, not mass. I am talking about weight, and weight is the force, that is m into g. So there is a force which is acting in the upward direction. We also studied in the 8th standard that suppose there is a box over here and two people are pushing the box, one in this direction and one in this direction, or if they are pulling the box, let's say that this box is being pulled by these two objects or two boys from two different directions. One is applying 70, other one is applying 15 newtons. So who will win? Obviously the boy applying 70 newton weight will win. But what will be the final force on the box? The net force on the box will be 20 newtons. Why? Because 70 minus 50 will give you 20 newtons. So the ultimate force acting on the box is 20 newtons. Okay. So the actual weight of the box over here is, let's say, 100 newtons. But there is other force acting on this object as well. That is the buoyant force. Let's say that the buoyant force is acting around 60 newtons. Okay. So the 60 newtons is acting in the upward direction and 100 newtons in the downward direction. So this is 100 newtons and this is 60 newtons. So what is the weight of the object now? So 100 minus 60, this box will only feel like 40 newtons because 100 minus 60 will give you 40 newtons. And that is why any object placed inside water or any other fluid feels lighter, because when you are out in the air, okay, when you are normally holding the box like this in your hands, at that time there is only one force acting on this, that is the gravitational force, and that is why the box is having full 100 newtons of force. And over here, when you are placing it inside the water, there is other force acting on it as well, and that is why you feel that the box is lighter. Okay students, I hope it is clear to you. That is buoyant force for you. The next one is density. Density is the amount of mass inside an object. Okay, I repeat once again. Density is the amount of mass inside the object. Now how can you define the object? That is the volume or the space it occupies. Let's say that I have two exact same boxes. Okay, two exact same boxes in my hand. In one box I have placed full of rocks and everything. I have filled the box with rocks, and on the other I am filling it with let's say water. So one box will be lighter and one box will be heavier. We know which one. The one with the stones and the rocks will be heavier. Why? Because there is more mass inside. So what is density? And that is why this box has more density compared to this box. So density is mass contained inside a certain volume. Okay. So density is given as mass per unit volume. How much mass inside a particular volume? So imagine you have another one, that is a tank, and in one tank you are filling water, and in the same tank you are filling air. So which one will be lighter and which one will be heavier? The one with the water will be heavier because now it is having more density. Why it is having more density? Because in the same volume we have more mass. Okay? I hope it is clear to you students. And what is mass? Mass is the matter inside an object. Okay? Archimedes principle, the last point for today. Archimedes principle gives us the idea of the buoyant force. Everybody might have heard about the story thirsty crow. There was a pot filled with water, but unfortunately the crow cannot drink the water because the water was very much at the bottom of the pot, and he wanted to drink it. So therefore it grabbed few stones and dropped inside the pot, and therefore the water level rised. And when it was good enough, the crow drank the water and then flew away. Why did this happen? Because whenever you place an object inside a fluid, that fluid is getting displaced. Okay, imagine I am taking a container once again. I am taking a container, and then on the other side I am using a weighing machine. Let's say that this container over here, this container over here is completely filled with water up to here. It is filled in such a way that if I drop anything inside it, the water will now rise up and it will fall in this container. Okay, so let's say that I am throwing an object over here, a small object, and it fell downwards over here. As soon as I throw this object, some of the water level will rise and this water will be collected over here. This water will be collected over here. And over here on this machine, I am measuring its weight. I am measuring its weight. Weight is mass into acceleration. Okay? Weight is mass into acceleration, not mass. On this machine, I am measuring weight. So what is Archimedes' principle? So Archimedes' principle states that when an object is fully or partially immersed in a fluid, when an object is immersed fully or partially in a fluid, it displaces a certain amount of fluid. It is going to displace a certain amount of fluid. The weight of this fluid, the weight of this fluid, which fluid? The fluid which is displaced. So the weight of the displaced fluid is equal to the buoyant force acting on that object immersed. Okay? What is weight? Weight is a force. What is buoyancy? Buoyancy is a force. So these two have a relation. When an object is immersed in the fluid, it is going to displace certain amount of fluid. When we find the weight of this fluid's weight will be equal to the buoyant force acting on this object inside this fluid. So I can write buoyant force is equal to weight of displaced fluid. Weight of displaced fluid. That concludes our chapter, students. Till then, have a nice day.